I would see it as a red flag if someone came to me and instead of trying to understand my business, they would just try.
Welcome to Values Beyond Time, a podcast about personal development, marketing, and entrepreneurship, exploring timeless principles that have a lasting impact. Let's go beyond the noise and discover what really matters.
Welcome back to Values Beyond Time, the podcast where we explore timeless principles that shape personal development, marketing, and entrepreneurship. Today, we are diving into a topic that everyone is talking about, but very few truly understand. It's about how to use AI to create value, real value inside a business. We're not going to talk about hype or fear, or not just about writing better emails a little faster or creating content for social media. We are going to talk about AI as a business enabler, AI that simplifies operations, reduces manual work, and helps companies scale without losing their human DNA. To explore this, I have the pleasure of welcoming two incredible founders based in Porto, Nuno Oliveira and Paulo Ribeiro, the co-founders of Hi Human, an AI automation agency helping companies implement AI thoughtfully, ethically, and in ways that actually move the business forward. What I love about their story is that they start from a human place. They did not build Hi Human as a tech experiment. They built it after years in finance, digital transformation, and consulting. And they saw an opportunity to help companies that they were drowning in manual tasks. And they had inefficient workflows and cultural resistance to change. So yes, it's called Hi Human, not Hi AI. Because their mission is so simple. They want to use technology to free people, not replace them. Whether you are a founder, a business leader, or simply curious about how AI is really transforming companies behind the scene, this episode will give you clarity, practical steps, an honest look at what works, what doesn't, and what happens when you misunderstand something about AI. So let's jump in. Paulo and Nuno, thanks for coming.
Thanks for having us, Marco.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Lovely. So the first question is this. If Hi Human were a person, what kind of personality would it have and why?
If Hi Human was a person, it would be a person that is very empathic. We understand people's needs and we can relate to them. So we can actually blend into a business, into a client, and understand their needs from A to Z and really address them on a personalized way.
Very well. So if AI could automate one thing in your personal life, what would you happily outsource forever?
Yeah, for me, as I hate cooking and planning dinners, I would have him planning my dinner schedules and, if possible, which will be soon, cooking them.
And how about you, Nuno?
Probably AI could find a way to wake me up a bit in a better mood in the morning, especially in the winter, because it's very tough.
Yeah, to just leave the warm bed. Yeah, I totally agree. So let's talk about your background and your origin story. What is Hi Human and what do you do?
Okay, so iHuman is the AI partner of SMEs. We implement AI solutions personalized to companies in different sectors. We call ourselves AI partner and not an AI services company because we don't just implement solutions. We sit with the clients, understand the business and the processes, and we help them identify pain points and processes that can be improved. And unlike traditional IT services companies, our main goal is to understand the business and be the tech arm of our partners. In fact, that's how they see us as well. And usually when we start a project with a company, very quickly we get many more.
And who are basically your target customers? You talked about SMEs. When we talk about SMEs, what industries are you talking about and what is the size of the company?
Our target customers, as you said, are SMEs. It might sound too broad, but we have clients in different sectors from electric mobility to e-commerce and even investment funds. So where we see that we add a lot of value is in companies that are having problems growing very fast. We implement AI to allow them to scale without worry about the extra work that it implies. So rather than having a defined dimension, we usually are the partner in growing and finding efficiencies.
Very well. So let's say an SME come and knock at your door and they say, okay, we want to implement AI in our business. What are the very first questions that you ask the organization, the management team? How does it start?
Yeah. So the first process that we have is to address the pain points. Those tasks or difficulties that they have in their everyday business are the first ones that we try to address. Let's say a company comes to us and say we spend too much time finding leads or businesses to contact. This part of the outreach consumes us an immense amount of time, and we need to do something about it because it's taking too much of our effort. If that's the pain point, we build a solution that addresses that pain point. So we build a workflow that is capable of finding leads that are relevant for that company in the industry that they want to address, the type of company, the size, etc. We prepare a personalized message for the decision maker. We find the decision maker in LinkedIn. This is all automatized, and we can even send that communication. All of this initial workflow of outreach can be automated. And this is an example. So typically we start with the company's pain points.
We also like to look at the big picture. For example, if the company expects to double their sales in the next 3 years, they will definitely need a CRM, for example. And in the CRM, you basically can automate lots of processes. For example, Paul was talking about finding leads. We can put those leads inside the CRM and give them a score so that the sales team knows who to prioritize.
Well, lovely. So the next question is the following. When we talk about these type of products, do you have any off-the-shelf product or do you customize and build something using different AI mix and match?
Typically, we use different platforms. For the client, a lot of times they don't even see the AI working in their screens because it all happens in the background. So we build a workflow that operates in the background and interacts with their current systems. A lot of times, for example, we build solutions that gather information from the system they already use, process it in the background with AI, and then inputs the result again into their system. So quite often they don't have to interact with AI directly because we do it for them. There are cases where they still want to interact with AI for some tasks. And let's say we are talking about a company that has to do research and they need very factual data. In that case, we can recommend a platform for them to use. For example, we recommend Perplexity for factual research. But most of the automations happen in the background. So it's very convenient for the client because they can still keep using their systems.
Very well. So let's touch on your interesting story before High Human existed. You both had strong backgrounds in finance, digital transformation, and business strategy. And how did your personal and professional background help you shape the current business of High Human?
That's true. Maybe that's why we naturally don't position ourselves as a traditional IT company. And to be honest, this is a strength as it allows us to understand businesses and how they make money. Because at the end, to justify investments, the management teams will always focus on increasing the bottom line. And for those who believe in destiny, I think our past experience was already guiding us this way, as we had strong experiences in digital transformation, especially of the financial industry. And of course, we started smaller first, and only product was chatbots. But we quickly found out that the market wanted much more and that we were pretty good at it.
Very well. And how does your international background, I mean, because based on what I know is that you worked abroad before, so you are bringing international experience back to your home country. How does that have an impact on the way that you look at businesses?
I think that's very positive because the different countries have different cultures. And having worked with different people, we are able to quickly adapt to different environments and how they see the problems and how they want the business to be.
Exactly. And we can also bring good practices from one country to the other. For example, one good practice that we bring is that we are very timely in our deadlines. So we always try to commit when we say this is done by that date, it will be done by that date. So I think it's something really important to improve the corporate culture as well.
Very well. Out of curiosity, how do you to get to know each other? Are you friends before this project? How do you get to know each other? And you said, let's shake hands and let's start this journey together.
Yeah, so we were both studying finance and we met during that master's degree. We became friends, not very close friends, but we liked each other. And I always had a very good impression of Nuno. I knew he was always very, very, very smart. So later on, I started to get very interested in AI and I saw a very big opportunity to start a company in this space because there was clearly a shortage of companies since it's a new field. And I always knew I wanted to start something on my own, but starting it with someone that also has the quality and has the vision and is willing to put in the effort makes it much easier. So then I presented the idea to Nuno. He liked it quite a lot. Maybe he can speak a little bit to it, but I think he was very easy to convince.
Yes, definitely. When Paulo introduced the topic, I was, of course, very interested because here we were about to be entrepreneurs, which, although it's not traditional path of someone in Portugal, it's something that everyone wants to do. And our analytical and logical abilities are very strong. The opportunity plus our profiles for me was a no-brainer. And with the right partner, which Paulo definitely is, this idea into a human.
Very well. The next question will be, what are some of the non-negotiable values between you two and also about the company and the customers?
It's a really good question. I would say quality is a non-negotiable. So if we really don't feel that the product or the automation is at the level that it should be, we don't deliver it. The second is honesty, in the sense that we want to deliver solutions that actually bring return on investment for the clients. So that's a really common practice that we have. Before we recommend a client to do something, we say, okay, let's measure what would be the ROI. How much would you pay us and how much would you save in terms of time or even increase your revenues, right? So I would say honesty, because we already turned down projects because we said, okay, the ROI for you is not good enough, so you should not do it. And this already happened quite sometimes in the past.
Very well. So, as you know, everyone talks about AI. Everyone thinks that they know AI very well. And a lot of people think that if they write a good prompt with one of these platforms, they are masters of AI. Either some people love it or they hate it. So they say, I don't like it. And there is a lot of hoo-ha around it saying that AI is not going to replace people. AI is going to replace people who knows how to use AI. So, what is the biggest misconception that you see in a small and medium-sized companies when it comes to AI adoption?
We have both sides of the spectrum. We have found companies that are really open to AI and already recognize the value. And we have companies where they see it as a real threat. So they are quite reluctant to look into it. But I would say that 75% of the companies we have spoken with, they already know that AI will have an impact on their business, either they want it or not. So that's quite a good realization that we had here. Most people know that AI will be sooner or later play a big part in their company. So we see this as quite positive, and I think people are thinking the right way. And now it's just a matter of showing them the way, because yes, they want to implement AI, but they don't know where to start. So that's why we come into the equation, right?
I think as well the biggest misconception here might be that AI is going to take the jobs of the current staff, which in our view is completely wrong. AI will definitely allow to grow without needing to hire people for low value added tasks. But right now the goal is to empower humans and allow them to focus on what really matters rather than wasting hours filling out Excel spreadsheets, for example.
And in terms of the budget, usually the owners or CEOs think that, okay, this requires big budget, because especially when you go and pitch your idea to a small company, they'll say, okay, it requires, I don't know, thousands or even millions. So how does it have an impact in decision making?
Right. Currently, AI is quite affordable for companies, and with a couple tools, we can do a lot. What we actually see that is key here is the personalization of AI to the businesses. It's more expensive, but it can lead to huge returns of investment. For example, there are chatbots online for 20 euros a month, which at the end of the month is cheaper than having a coffee every day. But those will be very limited, will answer the clients basically. If you have a personalized solution, you can have a chatbot answering clients, creating tickets, scoring leads, and notifying sales teams of the potential of a given lead. So overall, AI is cheap. The personalization is more expensive, but it pays off. And of course, maybe in the Portuguese reality, cost is probably the key thing. But usually when they start with the first project, a pilot project, they start to see results. They start to gain some trust in AI, and then they are more willing to invest. So I think the cost component is very important, especially in the first project. As soon as they see results, it's like a highway.
Lovely. So, in terms of sales cycle, how long is it? And how long does it take to see a positive return on investment?
Well, that's a pinpoint because the sales cycle is long for many reasons. For example, first, we meet with the CEO in a meeting. We talk about some problems, but then CEOs do not really know many times the time that the worker spends in low value added tasks. Then he has to go to the team, gather all the needs, and then we need to do like a proposal. And then the proposal takes a lot of time to be approved. So the sales cycle is very, very long.
Well, how long are we talking about? Like months, years?
3 to 4 months is, but it might not seem a lot, but for solutions that are obvious, good for the business, it should be much shorter.
When you talk about the decision makers, usually you target that, I don't know, maybe the CEO, the top managers of businesses. And who are the main key influencers? We have key decision makers and then we have influencers in the organizations. Who are the best ones that you can target? Basically, if they say yes, of course, they would tell the big boss, okay, let's buy it. Who are those ones who have influence? Or who is the best one that you can get the buy-in from inside the organization?
Yeah, normally those are the people for which the automation will help. Imagine you have a car garage, someone calls to make an appointment to take the car, and you are the one answering the calls all over again. And it's always the same. Do you have times available for next Wednesday? At what time? Okay, please book. And if you have a solution that is an AI voice agent that you can call and make an appointment autonomously, I think that person will be quite happy because it will reduce this repetitive task to a minimum, and that person would become the main influencer. It would be the main interested person to go to the top management and say, okay, I really need this. I spend too much time in receiving calls where I could be doing some other more productive work. So I think the influencers are the ones that will benefit directly from the automations.
And how about the gatekeepers? Who are the gatekeepers in this case?
That's a good question. We have different approaches for different companies when we reach out to them. For example, if we reach out to a CEO, we might be more generalist. But if we, for example, reach out to HR director, we'll be talking already about a solution for HR. So it depends a bit on the company if we have a target product or not.
Okay, very well. So, how about if you want to pitch your product to a CEO of a small, medium-sized company in 30 seconds? What would be your elevator pitch for someone who's very skeptical to adopt AI?
So first, I would try to understand in which industry they work in, and then I would talk about the case study. I think case studies are really the way to convince them. So I would give him a testimonial that we had from a current client, and I would try to be as brief as possible regarding the technical side because they don't really care so much about that. They care about the results. So I would definitely present one testimonial from one client saying, okay, we did this. Look, the client gave us this feedback. Would you be more interested in knowing a bit more? That's definitely what I would do.
Great. And let's be honest, because some companies, they should not start with AI yet because they don't have the capacity and the knowledge even. What are the red flags that tell you a company is not ready for AI? For example, it can be lack of process, lack of clarity, no data, wrong expectations.
Yes, I would say that what doesn't allow to structurally implement AI is outdated systems, such as ERPs that do not allow connecting with external platform, and also data quality, as many solutions depend on structured processes and data. And many companies still don't have like a data warehouse or power over data. So the first step would be to structure everything.
And how often do you reject such businesses? Do you often receive the request and you say, "Okay, think you are not ready yet"? How is it?
We don't reject them because we also are able to help them structure what they need to do. So we can help a company from A to Z, understanding the business needs, do basically a review of the data structure and of the systems, and then start seeing what can be done or not. But one of our biggest clients, we started with a CRM and now we are doing projects only focus on data to prepare the jump to next AI solution.
And can you share a situation where AI made a problem worse instead of better? What did you expect and then how it went wrong and what this experience gave you?
Yes, but to be honest, we haven't experienced that yet. Maybe because we filter out, as we said, projects that are not worthy enough. We just recommend and implement projects that we are sure that will benefit the company.
Very well. So let's give some real steps for people who wants to start AI. So imagine there's a business owner, you are at a dinner with them, you're having a chit chat, and it's not a business context, but they're curious to know how and where they should start. So if you want to break it down for them, what would be the first step? What is the first thing that they should do before, touching any AI tools?
I would say they should start to map their different processes and departments and start to identify inefficiencies or processes that take a higher than usual manual involvement or that are too expensive to outsource because a lot of the things that used to be outsourced can now be done in-house with an AI agent. So I would say do a full map of processes of the company and start to identify pain points or inefficiencies. That's definitely the first step that every decision maker would do.
And you mentioned a very interesting point about which majority, or I would say, if I don't generalize, a lot of businesses, they need leads. If it's a B2B, usually we talk about leads and lead generation. And again, Nuno talked about lead scoring and CRMs and everything. Based on your experience, what are the best ways that you can help businesses generate leads? You can pick up any business, any industry that based on your experience, based on your previous case studies and solutions that you provided. Can you walk us through the steps that what would be the best thing to do if I want to generate new leads and also just create a pipeline for myself and then score them? Because as you know, businesses, they have different criteria when it comes to lead scoring. For example, if it's a B2B IoT solution, it's totally different from, a simple maintenance software for hotels. So can you help us or break this down for our audience to understand that?
Yes, I can give you some examples, maybe some more practical ones. The first one, it's to understand how people are adapting to AI. Because a few years ago, if you wanted to look, for example, for a restaurant, you would Google it. But nowadays, probably you don't Google it. You go to ChatGPT or Claude or etc., and you will ask for some suggestions. So the first step is to adapt to how people are looking for things. And this is called the GEO, which is rapidly creating new opportunities for people to pop out on these LLMs. And the second one, AI itself won't give you leads, but AI can basically treat all the leads much better. For example, one of our clients is a driving school. They are growing a lot through marketing and through the testimonials that they have and etc. And basically they were having lots of leads that were not able to get a response. So what we did was to integrate AI in their marketing campaigns. For example, they do a paid campaign on Instagram. Someone goes there, fills out the information, and now as soon as they fill the information, they will receive a message on WhatsApp asking, what can we help? What are your questions? Do you want to schedule a visit? So this allowed the company to, when the lead is hot, when the lead is trying to buy, to contact them, to basically start to qualify them, and then to pass the lead to close for the sales team. So this is an example. Integrating AI in marketing can not increase the leads, but easily increase conversion. And in this use case, the company in 3 months doubled the meetings scheduled they had.
I think that's a really good case study because I think first thing first, helping to qualifying leads through a process, which you mentioned, is really good because when the intention is really high, you help them to process them and just pass them to the next stage of the funnel. So I think that's a really good example to share with our audience. Thank you. So many founders feel lost because there are too many tools and too many AI experts. And AI now is a hot topic for everyone. In the past, it was blockchain. Now we have this new era of AI and a lot of AI agents. So the question is, how and what should a business owner look for when choosing a partner to build AI solutions for them? For example, experience, is it portfolio, is it business understanding, ethics, obviously real results, case studies. What are the criteria? Imagine that our audience, they want to choose AI partners. How and what criteria that you recommend to them?
So firstly, a portfolio. I think it's very important to find a partner that has done some work in the industry that you work in. I would say everyone would feel more comfortable. Imagine you have a company that operates in the financial sector. If you found an AI partner that has done some real projects in finance, you would feel much more relaxed about going for it. So the portfolio is one point. And the second one, the business understanding. I would see it as a red flag if someone came to me and instead of trying to understand my business, they would just try to sell me a solution without trying to understand my needs. It feels kind of forced, and it shows that they are more interested in selling than to help you. I think the first point is always to understand the business needs, because if they don't understand your needs, they are not going to help you. AI should be customized for your business and not the other way around. We see it this way.
Very well. So simplify. First thing first is portfolio, and then second is business understanding and understanding the operation and process of the businesses. In your case, obviously, you told us that you have several businesses that they are knocking at your door, or you are knocking at their door. And how do you choose if you do not have a clear understanding of business operations? Do you have any, for example, educational institutions?
We have education institutions. We are starting now a project with an education institution, by the way. But the first question that we ask is, you are working on your business, you understand much more than me. If you could tell me briefly how it works, it will help me a lot. Because this way we start to see not only how the business works, but also the perspective that the person has in each process.
So basically, you first ask the questions from them to understand the process, and then you decide, okay, is this good for us to jump into or not? Is that correct?
Yes, but we always jump, in the sense that we are not scared about not understanding a business. We are quite good at adapting to other businesses. For example, 6 months ago, I didn't understand anything about electric mobility. Now, if you want, we can talk about chargers, what's the best charger, etc. So you grow, and that's probably what we like the most in this job, by the way, to get to know a lot of realities and even ourselves grow as a person.
And where do you think companies are wasting time and money with AI today?
I would say in cheap solutions. For example, chatbots that you can get like a subscription online for 20 euros a month, because that will be just like a shortcut. It will answer people and their questions. Sometimes it doesn't. But most of them will do. But then it won't integrate with your business. It will be more like a tool rather than like a piece of the puzzle.
And do you have any secret AI or any platform that usually you two know that a lot of people do not know, and that's your kind of go-to platform to ask questions? Anything that you would like to share with us, or this is just your secret?
Yeah, I don't mind sharing. One of them is Cloud. A lot of people don't know Cloud, but it's LLM like ChatGPT or Gemini. And Cloud is incredibly powerful, especially for the technical people that are listening to us and they are building some tech solution or they want to do a project in the technology space. Cloud is able to mostly give you the right directions whenever you ask for guidance.
Okay. And if you want to give us some ideas about which platform is for what business purposes, can you give us some ideas? For example, you said ChatGPT is for this, Perplexity is this one, Gemini is good for this, or Notebook LM is good for this. Do you have any? Do you want if you would like to share with our audience?
I would say that ChatGPT is the more generalist one. So it's an all around case. It can do a bit of everything, but I would say that it's not the best in anything. Cloud, definitely, from my perspective, for technology uses, for development. Grok, I think, is very creative and helps you create creative content. Gemini 3 looks incredibly powerful, but we are still testing it because it's quite recent. So we are still exploring its potential. And I don't know if you remember any other, Nuno.
Maybe Perplexity, which is more fact-based. Notebook LM is also great to interact over documents.
Okay, very well. So I would like to touch on an interesting part, which is, I think it's a very scientific area about cultural dimensions. Before we go into Portugal specifically, I want to bring in a framework that I find helpful to think about culture. To give you a bit of a background to our audience, Hofstede was a social psychologist who studied how values in workplace are influenced by national culture. Hofstede's model includes 6 dimensions, which are power distance, individualism versus collectivism, masculinity versus femininity, uncertainty avoidance, long-term orientation, and indulgence. It's interesting to see that each of these dimensions describe how culture values influence behavior, decision-making, and openness to change inside a society and its workplace. For the sake of this conversation, let's focus on one of the dimensions, which is uncertainty avoidance. It means how comfortable a society is with ambiguity and risk. Countries with high uncertainty awareness prefer clear rules, structure, and predictability. They have a low tolerance for the unknown and prefer careful planning instead of sudden change. Interestingly, Portugal scores very high on this dimension, 99 from 100. Just to remind you that this study is a bit old, but the question is this. How does this cultural trait show up in the way Portuguese companies approach AI adoption? Do you think that, as this research shows, that Portuguese, generally speaking, again, they are a bit reluctant to change, reluctant to answer regarding uncertainty avoidance? What is your experience?
I would agree with that. What we see in the Portuguese market is that AI is a new space and companies are very afraid of being pioneers. They don't like to be the first adopters. They generally prefer to follow the competitors. So whenever we say, okay, we already did this project with a competitor of yours, they are like, okay, then we have to start doing it. They are more like followers, and I don't see the Portuguese companies as being pioneers. I think they have difficulties. There are exceptions, of course, but in general, I think we have a culture that is avoidant of new things.
So, and based on what you say, does this have an impact on your sales cycle? Obviously, when you are selling it to a client, with the second client in the same industry, it would be much easier. But how about the first ones? Is it?
Yeah, the first ones, usually we start with a MVP. So we start with a simple product for them to get acquainted with AI and to get their trust, and then they easily want more. But the sales cycle is also a bit dependent on this because SMEs in Portugal tend to be dependent a bit on big funds to invest in those areas. That's why our sales cycle ends up being a bit longer because of this reluctance, and also because there are lots of public funding and companies, if they can pay 20 instead of paying 100, they will always prefer it.
And when you talk about public funding, do you have any on top of your mind that you can share with our audience if they do not know that they could use this type of funding?
Hmm. Yeah, so very recently there was a program called AI for SMEs, um, and this allowed companies to fund their investments in AI up to 70% of the amount, which means that if you invested 100,000 euros, you would get as a funding 70,000,
Mhm.
which is quite substantial. So
Yeah.
this creates this willingness in the market to invest in those products. We have been told that these AI programs and AI incentives will continue to appear in the market, and this system of the Portugal 2030. I don't know if you know
Yes,
this, but
yes.
it's like this system of incentives, and they are gradually inserting AI eligibility in almost all categories. So it's very easy nowadays for a company to get funding to invest in AI projects.
Wonderful. And when you talk about investment, what would be, let's say, a reasonable, not too high, not too cheap amount of investment that in a small SME you can expect to have? Because when we talk about this, people, they do not have any idea. Does it mean 500 euros per month or a project of 30, 40K?
Yeah, it really depends. For example, if we are talking about building a CRM with AI, it's a bigger project. It's normally around 20, 30,000. But if we are talking about a chatbot for their website or to qualify leads, we are talking about an investment of between 3,000 and 5,000. So it depends on their needs, because we start with the pain points and then we build the solutions. So it's quite hard to say if a company needs more investment than others. It really depends on each case.
Very well. So, when I was searching about your company, what was very catchy, obviously, was the name of your company. I love the name because it's all about your philosophy. Why do you choose high human as opposed to high AI?
That's a good question. Funny enough, you are not the first one to ask us that question. So we decided for high human because we believe AI is here to aid people and not to replace them. And we thought that including human in our name would be a differentiating factor. We don't want people, decision makers, companies to feel scared about AI. We always tell them AI is here to help you. It's here to make you more efficient, and once they start to use it, they love it. And that's why we decided not to go to high AI, because it would be too impersonal. And we are see ourselves as a partner for companies. So we also have this human side. We like to talk with them. We like to understand their needs. Quite often we even visit them in person. We still like to keep this connection, this personal connection, which I think will always be important for businesses.
What I love about what you said right now is that you are selling AI through human interaction. So you don't sell AI through AI because you're selling human skills to sell AI, which is amazing. And based on your experience, what is one human quality that AI will never replace?
I would say intuition. I think it's quite hard for AI still to understand the concept and all the variants of a problem. Sometimes, for example, management has to make a decision and it has to take into account the feelings of their subordinates. Like, if I make this decision, which is rational, but how will this person feel in the end, right? And I think that's where AI is still not there. I
Mhm.
think it still fails to take into consideration the emotional side of humans and how will they feel if an action is taken. So I think AI is exceptional in rational decisions, but in the real world, when you make a decision, you have to take into account also the emotions and what other people will think about that decision. So that's the main challenge, I think, for AI currently. It's getting better, but it's still not there yet.
So, if ChatGPT were an employee at High Human, would you promote it, fire it, send it to more training, and why?
I would definitely keep it. I think ChatGPT is amazing, and all the LLMs, they can really do many tasks very well. So for example, nowadays you don't need to parse an invoice by yourself. You don't need to look into a document and start to input the invoice number, the amount, the tax number manually. They do this type of tasks exceptionally well. And so I would definitely keep ChatGPT working for me because it works very well and it's also cheap.
Very well. And if you had to assign ChatGPT a role in your company, what would it be?
I would say that ChatGPT is very good in designing solutions. So I would see him as the kind of product owner. ChatGPT is really good at creating roadmaps. For example, I want to achieve X. For that, I would like to invest this amount of money. I would like to involve these people and achieve the following outcomes. Give me a roadmap. And you'll see that maybe it will need some modifications here and there, but in general, it will already give you a very good roadmap and very close to the one that you will actually end up following.
So I have this interesting question because a lot of people are talking about AI agents, but there's some kind of misinformation in the market. If you want to simplify what are AI agents for our audience, what would you say?
AI agents are workers that do a lot of tasks in the background. So let's say that you are responsible for insert invoices into the system. So what an agent does is it connects with multiple systems and executes the tasks on your behalf. An agent will grab the invoice from your email, insert it in the drive, for example, read it, and do the accounting treatment of that invoice. So an agent uses AI in their workflows. They connect with multiple systems and uses AI, for example, for the parsing of the document and the reading of the document. So this is how an AI agent works. It executes tasks on your behalf and interacts with multiple systems.
Very well. So we are coming almost to the end of the podcast, and I want you to answer with short sentences about these short questions. Generally speaking, what do you do when you feel stuck?
I take a break and I go for a run or do some sports and then come back to the problem later on. And the solution often presents itself to you.
And one automation that, in your view, saves the most time in most companies?
Lead generation. I think all companies need to grow and need to find clients, and they spend an enormous amount of time doing it. So if you have an agent doing this outreach on their behalf, I think it's amazing for almost all businesses.
One value that guides your decisions as a founder?
We always care a lot about honesty because we want to establish ourselves as an AI partner. So this consulting side is very important to us, and we never want to create false expectations on our clients. So we always very down to earth. We estimate the ROI for them, and then we say, okay, this is worth it or this is not worth it. So I would say transparency and honesty are definitely the values, the core values of High Human.
And if you can recall, what was a moment when staying true to your values changed a project or a decision making?
That's a really good question and is connected with the previous one. There was one of our clients, they were interested in doing something. And then we said, okay, look, this is how much it will cost you. This is how many benefits it will bring you. And it's not worth it. We can charge you and we can implement it and charge it to you, but it won't be worth it. So we declined that project. And they were super happy about it. And after just a few weeks, they came up with a new project because we trust you. We know that you will tell us the right thing to do. And that project that came a few weeks after actually made sense. So then we went for it.
So honesty was a very good lead magnet in your case for you. So AI or human intuition for hard decisions?
I would say human intuition with AI support.
Okay. And one mistake you are glad you made?
As a founder, you always have obstacles in the beginning and you have to filter out the noise. So you always try to chase every opportunity that presents in front of you. But I think you should not do that. You should focus on your core mission and follow it blindly.
And your why in one sentence?
SMEs, they don't have the person in-house to develop those solutions, and we are here to help them. And I think every economy needs strong small and medium enterprises to challenge the big ones. Otherwise, the markets are not efficient.
Yeah, I love that. So basically, it's like you cannot be your own doctor, dentist, surgeon, architect. So it's better to outsource it to the experts. So Nuno and Paulo, thank you so much for your rich and grounded conversation. I think many people will walk away with something that they didn't expect. Not hype, not fear, but clarity about what AI can actually do for real businesses, for real people, and for the future work. What I appreciate most is how both of you bring AI back to its true purpose, enabling people, not replacing them. Your approach proves that future technology is not cold or distant. It's human. It's very practical and value-driven. To our listener, if you are considering implementing AI in your company, or if you are simply trying to understand what is noise and what is real, this episode will give you a roadmap. When to start, how to start, and what to avoid, and finally, how to choose the right partner. For the final question for you, Paulo, who would you nominate as a future guest for Values Beyond Time?
I would nominate Nuno Geronimo. He is an executive director at KPLC Mobility. So they are like a green energy mobility company, and he's a great speaker. And interestingly enough, they are one of our clients. So it could be good to also get their perspective on what AI is doing for them. So I think it can be a really great talk.
Thank you so much, Paulo. And thank you again for your time and your honesty and your vision. Until the next time, this is Marco Bagheri from Values Beyond Time.
Thank you for joining us on Values Beyond Time. If you've enjoyed today's episode, be sure to subscribe and leave a review on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or your favorite platform. For more conversations, visit valuesbeyondtime.com. Until next time, stay hungry.